On to some breaking developments coming in right this minute. India's GDP has now recovered from a 3-year low in the latest numbers that have been now released by the Indian government. The country's gross domestic product has shot up to 6.3%. As per the latest figures that have been coming in, the Indian gross domestic product has recovered this from a 3-year low in the latest numbers that have been released now by the Indian government. The country's GDP has shot up to 6.3%. A huge indicator of India's economic growth trajectory. The Indian gross domestic product has recovered. Important to highlight here, this is a figure which is now shown signs of recovery after a 3-year low. In the latest numbers that have now been released by the Indian government, the country's gross domestic product has shot up to 6.3%. A number of factors that have contributed to that recovery. Let's get in further perspectives from our chief business correspondent, Sumit Chaturvedi, who's joining us on the broadcast. Sumit, what are the numbers telling you at this point?
Well, it's a 6.3, which is far of improvement from 5.7 registered last year. Clearly, this means that the GST hiccups are not there anymore, and whatever initial slip we saw, it was because of GST. So that's going to really boost the government chances of really going to go and invest big. Also, it will also impact the RBI's policy decision, which is going to be announced in the next few days as to where will it go, what will it do. So GDP increase doesn't mean that RBI will not go for a rate cut. That could impact the overall corporate sector, though. But GDP figure this time coming is in line with the kind of optimism being seen in the economy. As far as economy is concerned, yeah, Moody's has upgraded us, and GST hiccups are no more there. Initially, last quarter, GDP was down because in June, because of GST, the production had come down drastically, because of which GST also, because of which GDP also came down. But now it's a thing to cheer about the GDP figure, which has improved as compared to last year.
So the Indian economy has finally recovered. It would be safe to say, Sumit, from the slowdown, would it also be safe to say that it has recovered from the shocks of the demonetization move?
Well, absolutely. Demonetization is long gone by, but still we can't say that we are the fastest growing economy in the world. Remember, we were growing by more than 7% rate of growth and touching 8% rate of growth. 6.3% is still less as compared to 7% rate of growth. But still, it's better than last year, which is still a good thing as compared to the last year's.
What, according to you, Sumit, has caused this turnaround? What, according to you, have been the contributing factors to this recovery?
In June, the GST, because of GST, there were problems that they were not only, the problems were there in GST, and that's why production had stopped. Many of the people, like industries, had stopped the production, looking at the problems they were going to face post GST on July 1st. That's why June production had come down. But now this quarter, July, August, and September, the production is back to the wheel, and that's why this has shown that production is back. GST hiccups are over.
All right, Sumit, also for those who might not be aware, the earlier figures, of course, have been a 3-year low, Sumit. So this is a huge jump. What have the figures prior to this indicated? And the latest figure, 6.3%, is a huge jump, or would this be safe to say that the economic slowdown is now a long way behind the Indian economy?
It's not good to say anything at this moment, Molly. The reason being, it's a quarterly figure, and quarterly. Let's wait for the whole year annual figure. Fourth quarter will be looked out for. It's also good because November. If you remember last year, November, demonetization happened. That quarter is keenly awaited now.
All right. Stay with us, Sumit, as we continue to track the latest coming in. As Sumit, our chief business correspondent, was just indicating, this is, of course, a sign of recovery as far as the shocks of demonetization and the economic slowdown are concerned. This would also mean that in a way the economy has recovered from the GST and the demonetization moves. This is also important to highlight, a recovery from a 3-year low. The figures have now shot up to 6.3%. This is, as Sumit was pointing out, an indicator, but we cannot read too much into these figures because these are the Q2 figures. But important to highlight here that this is a recovery from a 3-year low. The gross domestic product has now shot up to 6.3%. So Yash Bhatt is now joining us for more on this. Appreciate you speaking with us here on WION. Sir, your initial reaction, to what extent do you think this is an indicator of the recovery of the slowdown that we've seen over the last few months?
It's basically a couple of shocks in the economy in the second quarter to implementation of GDP, which really put a lot of things. But it's a good sign because a lot of investments have happened, and it's a sign that this should be in terms of the GDP growth.
All right, a bit of an audio trouble there, Mr. Bhatt. We will, of course, try and reconnect with you later. But for now, this is a huge indicator of the recovery from the economic slowdown that the Indian economy was suffering from. The Indian GDP has recovered. This figure is 6.3% of the Q2 period. We're going to keep tracking the latest coming in on that front.